Hello, everyone. So today I decided that I was going to go ahead and take a look at all of the news that we've been seeing out of Florida with all the recent bills being thrown at the governor's feet to sign into law. A lot of it's stirred quite a controversy over in Florida, hasn't it? So I suppose let's just jump into it.
Florida just voted to kidnap trans kids. Are you paying attention yet?
I am, and they most certainly did not. They did not vote to just outright kidnap trans kids. You, I assume, are referring to SB 254, which, as it reads from the very beginning, is an act relating to treatments for sexual reassignment, amending 61.517, granting courts of this state temporary emergency jurisdiction over children present in this state if they are at risk of or are being subjected to provisions of sex reassignment prescriptions or procedures. That is not the same as just kidnapping trans kids. What that is Florida taking away the ability for parents to force or even allow children under the age, so anybody under the age of 18, to undergo sex reassignment procedures. That is just something that I fully, wholeheartedly agree with. I understand that some of this bill it's not well defined. It's still in the very early stages of development, and it does need some polishing. However, the general idea behind it, as it is written out, if you read the bill, is that if you are putting your children on puberty blockers, HRT, if they have any type of gender reassignment surgery, then you can have your children taken away. It is considered child abuse now. As it fucking should. You are allowing a child to make life-altering decisions that some of which are entirely irreversible, and you expect children to be mentally capable enough to make these decisions. You act like this is an attack on trans people. It is not. This is for the protection of children. That is it.
SB 254 is a bill that the Senate just voted on yesterday to allow them to remove trans kids that receive gender-affirming care from their parents. And when I say gender-affirming care, I mean anything that's for trans kids. Because if it's breast augmentation or a nose job so that a girl can feel more like a girl, that's totally fine. We wouldn't want to mess with that.
Are you attempting to equate children getting gender reassignment procedures done to adults getting nose and boob jobs? Because if so, that is a absolutely ridiculous statement. Now, if you're trying to give an example of children getting gender reassignment therapy to children getting a nose or boob job, I would agree that that is also in some way a act of child abuse. Of course, there are those, just like with this gender reassignment procedures, there are always outliers and exceptions. Let's say a child was born with some type of birth defect, and a nose job is like what will make them, quote unquote, appear normal, right? I'm fully in support of that. If it's something that causes them issues, then that's fine. I don't see any wrongdoing in that. But if we're talking about they just want some type of surgery to make their appearances better as a child, then yeah, I would say that's just as bad. That is just as much of a problem as gender reassignment. I mean, well, maybe not just as much of a problem, but it's child abuse just the same.
But if a girl feels like a boy, illegal, straight to jail.
Nope. Again, you haven't stated an actual fact throughout your entire video so far, which is A plus for you. It's actually kind of amazing. Figured you would have at least just accidentally stated something that was truthful by now. But no, nobody is saying that you just feeling like a boy or a girl or the opposite gender. Nobody's saying that your feelings will then get you arrested. It's not illegal to feel things, and it certainly isn't enforceable. What this bill is saying is that children, people under the age of 18, are now no longer allowed to have gender reassignment for medical procedures done. That's it. Minors, children. You act like children are capable of making these forever life-changing decisions. They're not. This is the same idea to me as you shouldn't allow 18-year-olds to enlist in the military because, again, you're not mentally mature enough to even decide something like that. You can hardly grasp your own mortality. You do not have that mental maturity yet to understand that bad things can and will happen to you. You are not the main character in this story as much as you feel that you are. Shit can happen. And you can't even grasp that at 18. Imagine trying to put a 12-year-old in the shoes that you guys are putting them in and saying, hey, you can go ahead and decide which gender you want to be for the rest of your life. I mean, for fuck's sakes, I had anxiety trying to choose my profession and going to college at the age of 16, 17 years old. Like, that was a massive decision to make. I can't even fathom being a 10, 11, 12-year-old trying to assign myself a gender for the rest of my life. It's idiotic that we actually believe that children are capable of making this big of a decision. And it's even more idiotic that we are going to sit here and act like now we're legalizing the kidnapping of children and basically abolishing transgenderism. It's just not allowed anymore. Absolutely ridiculous.
This is on the heels of that Don't Say Gay bill, which was just to protect the children, until this week when they moved it all the way up to 12th grade.
The infamous Don't Say Gay bill. I keep hearing this one thrown around a lot too, so of course, like the curious person I am, I decided to go ahead and do some digging, and then I found the actual bill. You know, it's a lot more interesting when you just read the actual legislation that is written out. So the entire point of this bill is, for one, more transparency between the school districts and the parents of the children, which I'm all for. I believe that's an overall good thing, regardless of the other parts of this bill. That aspect is always good. Transparency is always a good thing. Now, for the rest of it, the part that you're actually talking about, the quote-unquote Don't Say Gay portion of this bill, it's really only just right here. It's this little section or subsection of the bill, right? A school district may not encourage classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity in primary grade levels or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students. A parent of a student may bring an action against a school district to obtain a declaratory judgment that a school district procedure to practice violates this paragraph and seek injunctive relief. A court may award damages and shall award reasonable attorney fees and court costs to a parent who receives declaratory or injunctive relief. I'm not going to lie, it's actually really hard to read all that because of the fact that I have to zoom out in order to get that screen capture, and I was too lazy to then zoom back in and scroll, and just because it's separated on two different pages. I'm just lazy, alright? So deal with the poor reading of it because my eyes are fucking terrible. Anywho, the entirety of this is just stating that a school district and its faculty, so teachers, may not discuss sexual orientation or gender identity in primary grade levels or in a manner that is not age appropriate. So essentially, you cannot discuss it in a way that is not age appropriate. That's the entirety of the point of this bill. I will agree in the fact that the wording and description is very lacking, and again, this is something that needs polished. It is a brand new bill, though. I love that people that sit here and complain about these things are obviously people who have never read actual bills before. They've never read any legislation as it's being produced, because this lack of description and lack of defining characteristics and defining some of the words that they use, it's really commonplace in legislation. It just is. Like they really just round everything together. Things aren't very descript when it's first brought up, and they usually will use this as a baseline, and then the court systems will then add and subtract to it and make legislation actually like define these characteristics. And oh well, we can't make a ruling on this case because this particular word or this particular phrase wasn't defined within the legislation, so therefore we don't know if it even violates it because we don't know the definition of it. So again, it's one of those things, because like what's the definition of not age appropriate? Like that's the one that gets me. Or developmentally appropriate for students. That's what gets me, is like, how do you define that? How do you characterize that? Like, I get it. They want that in there so that you don't have some like psycho fucking teacher going like super in depth with 5 or 6 year olds about like weird shit that they shouldn't fucking really know anyway, right? There's a certain level that each grade, I suppose, kind of gets introduced into these ideas, and they kind of learn about things like this, right? I don't think anybody is sitting here saying that like you literally can't say gay. I think that's ridiculous. This seems more like they don't want certain things taught in school, and parents are worried about the ideas that are being pushed in the current education systems, so they want some control over it. They don't want their children of as super young ages being taught certain things. Whether or not that's right or wrong, I mean, I'm not really one to say, but the whole idea that you just can't even bring up homosexuality or transgender in schools in Florida now is ridiculous. It's just not true.
And then they criminalized drag queens, making it a sex crime. Then they made it so that sex crimes were punishable by death. And then they made it so that you only needed 8 of the 12 jurors to convict someone to death in a trial.
Hey, there we go. You finally actually said something that is a genuine fact. Yes, Florida did change so that you only need 8 jurors to invoke the death penalty in a capital offense. That is actually 100% true. However, that is the end of your truthful statements. That is the end of the list of facts that you will go on to state. For example, they in no way criminalize drag queens. All right. The only thing that I can venture to guess you're talking about is SB 1438. Now, in SB 1438, which again hasn't even been signed into law yet, as far as I'm aware, it's waiting on governor approval. Again, that might change with me being between recording and editing and posting the video. That might no longer be the case. I don't know. However, the entirety of the point of 1438, if you read through the actual legislation that is put forth, it is basically now prohibiting children, minors, from being involved or attending adult-themed shows of any nature. It doesn't even specify drag shows, but that's what this was essentially created for, because we don't really have an issue in society with people taking their children to, like, say, I'd say the best example to compare it with would be burlesque shows, right? We don't currently have an issue with people taking children to those events that I'm aware of. So they have done this in a way that honestly feels like a massive slap on the wrist. Okay, the only real punishments that you could be facing if you are found guilty of doing this is one, you could lose your license to lose or have a suspended license to serve and sell food, as well as a suspended or revoked liquor license. And you will have a possible $5,000 fine for your first offense, and then a $10,000 fine for your second and subsequent offenses. This, especially for larger places like some of these hotels that have been in the news about doing these things, that is the biggest slap on the wrist that I have ever heard of, because a $5,000 to $10,000 fine is literally nothing for these larger hotels. And the idea that they would get their liquor or food license pulled is just non-existent. It's not going to happen. It brings in too much money for whatever area it's in for that to ever happen. I guarantee it. So I'm not really sure why this is a big hot topic issue. It doesn't make any sense to me, because what this specifically outlines it's targeting is adult live performances, and it also specifically says knowingly. So if you are performing or hosting an adult live performance, an adult themed performance, and you knowingly have children attending, minors attending, then you are subject to 1438. Now, it goes through and specifies very well on what they have determined an adult live performance is. And aside from, like, if you're not up there, like, showing nudity or super sexually explicit activities, short of basically just going up and having sex on stage, you are pretty much okay. It baffles me that people are so worried about this. The way that they have outlined, this is one of the more well put together bills that we've gone through so far in this video. It clearly defines what an adult live performance entails and what they are prohibiting children from witnessing in these performances. So it's not that fucking difficult. It really isn't. I don't understand how this is something people are worried about. You can still continue to have drag shows. It's not banning drag shows. It's not even banning children from attending these drag shows. It's banning children from attending adult-themed ones. How is this controversial? So I'm not even sure where the whole it made drag queens a sex crime. Somebody has to fill me in on that one. I'm completely oblivious to what the fuck you're talking about. Now, the one about sex crimes being a capital offense. Do you understand what that is? I don't think you do. And if you do know what it is and you are still against or protesting that, then you scare me as a person, because this is probably the least controversial thing that we have covered so far. Essentially, Florida has made the sexual battery of minors a capital offense, or can be a capital offense. Do you know what sexual battery of minors is? It's literally, you're talking about raping children at that point. That's what sexual battery is. So how, like, oh my god, in what world is this controversial? This fucking baffles me. In what way, in what universe is it controversial to put child rapists to death? If there was ever a topic, a issue that I would expect both sides to come together with and, like, not have any issue agreeing on, it would be something like this. But yet somehow, in some way, we have twisted it into whatever the fuck you guys are complaining about, because I'm lost. We're literally talking about the sexual battery of children is not worth, what, the death penalty? Fuck off with this bullshit.
If you hear all that, and you can't do that very, very simple math to see that what they are attempting is legal genocide, then you are either a liar or a fool. Which is it?
See, and here's my issue, guys. Things like this are why I find it so fucking difficult to support the left anymore. I find it so fucking hard because I'm somebody who kind of sits on the fence of both sides for the most part. I have a lot of agreements with the right and a lot of agreements with the left. But things like this are what make it so difficult. We're talking about, we've gone over every fucking bill that I can think of that is problematic in this person's view, and I've yet to see anything that even remotely would be equated to legal genocide. Nobody, in no way has anybody even said anything about trans people being imprisoned or put to death. Nowhere. Nowhere. The only thing that we talked about with death punishments was, again, the sexual battery of minors. And yes, I don't care who you are. If you are sexually battering minors, you fucking deserve death. You're not gonna fucking persuade me otherwise on this topic. It's just that simple. So where's the legal genocide happening? What legislation am I missing that is apparently giving Florida the right to just walk out in the streets and start hurting trans people to their fucking deaths? Because I've yet to see it. And of course, that somehow makes me the fool, right? It makes the person who actually sat through and read all of the bills that have been pushed through, it makes me the fool. After reading them and not seeing any instance in which you could even misconstrue that trans people are going to start being imprisoned or put to death, I read through every single fucking word of these bills and found nothing even remotely fucking close to what you're trying to say is happening.
They are attempting to legally eradicate a group of people, which is also why they don't want books in the schools, because this is behavior that's been attempted before. You know what I'm referencing.
I am so fucking tired of hearing this fucking age-old argument that we are becoming Nazi Germany. We've been becoming Nazi Germany for the past 100 years. I fucking swear to God, we've been just slowly becoming Nazi Germany, I guess. I don't understand it. Like, what is this book reference? I don't know. Maybe I missed something, but yeah, I'm not for the censorship of media in any way. I'm not for the censorship of books. That's fucking stupid. But to equate that to us becoming fucking Nazi goddamn Germany is fucking ridiculous. Again, they're not looking to legally eradicate people. And if they were, I would genuinely hope that us as an American people could see this and stop it before it happened. Okay? The idea that we could become Nazi Germany is essentially stating that you have absolutely zero faith in the American people. You have absolutely no faith that the American people will see such an absolute horrendous act and immediately stop it and immediately put a stop to it. I just don't believe that that's the case. I don't think that we could ever get that bad. I don't think we could ever get that bad and we just let it happen, just brush it under the rug. I don't think that that's ever going to happen.
I'm done listening to your excuses. It's never been about the kids. Yes, this is fascism. If you don't see that, you're supporting it.
One, no, it's not fucking fascism. That's, again, just fucking stupid. And yes, of course, if you are a person who is, not very political, or somebody who just doesn't really care that much for politics, and you don't understand the complexities of the current political system we have created, or you don't understand this super fucking complex social system we find ourselves in now, that even somebody like me who currently makes videos about these topics is struggling to keep up with everything. If you don't do anything, if you are unaware of what's going on right now, or underplaying it in any way, you support it. You're a fascist. What an absolutely fucking ridiculous statement to make.
I mean, Utah Senator Mike Lee is calling DeSantis a fascist. Do you really want to be a bigger fool than Mike Lee? That guy's doing all this because he wants to run for president. He's not legally allowed to declare it yet because Florida governors have to resign if they run for president, and he's not willing to lose his power before he gains even more. So he'll just change it. He'll just do whatever he wants because that's what fascists do. It's a little preview of what they'd like to bring to the United States. A 6-week abortion ban across the board. You're not allowed to talk about LGBTQ issues up until 12th grade.
Nope, as we've already covered, that is not entirely accurate. That's very disingenuous to say of the legislature. It says that it must be age appropriate. Now, I'm pretty sure that there's very, 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 very few people who are going to state that you can't talk about LGBT-related topics in, say, the 12th grade or the 11th grade when students are damn near adults at that point. That's ridiculously over the top. The wording in the legislation is indeed vague, and I do understand that there is room to abuse it. And I think that it will happen. There will be cases in which it is abused. However, those cases typically need to happen in order for the legislation to then be fixed. That's something that just happens in the American justice system with any issue, with any fucking new bill or law that's thrown out there. It's just how it works. It's very difficult to sit there and write through every single fucking possible scenario that could come up. It's not realistic. So yeah, is it going to get abused? Most likely. Will it then be fixed after it's abused? Again, most likely.
You're not allowed to have trans kids. You're not allowed to dress the way you want in public.
Oh dear fucking god, could you be more hyperbolic if you fucking tried? Not allowed to have trans kids. Literally no one is fucking saying that. Not a single person. The only restriction that the legislation has put on children currently in terms of transitioning is they cannot undergo life-changing fucking medical procedures. They're not allowed to be put on fucking hormone blockers. They're not allowed to be put on any type of fucking hormone therapy. They're not allowed to have fucking gender reassignment surgery. Nobody's saying that they can't be fucking trans, you absolute fucking buffoon. And what the fuck is this you can't dress a certain way in public? Like, what are you talking about? Aside from, like, again, like, obscene shit, like, yeah, you typically in most fucking places can't walk around with your dick hanging out. Fair enough. Like, that's about the only real restrictions that we really have in almost all states in terms of what you can and can't wear in public. What is this comment about?
Book bans across the board, and as an employer, you're not allowed to disagree with the government whatsoever, or they will directly attack you.
And yet again, I have no idea what the actual fuck you are even talking about. The only thing that I can venture a guess on would be you're talking about the one bill in which it seems to have said that as an employer, we're no longer allowed to provide coverage for any type of gender-affirming procedures. I don't know. If that's the case, then I am 100% not in support of it, because a fucking employer and health insurance provider should be able to provide whatever form of health insurance that they fucking want. That's not something that the government should be stepping in and deciding. That seems really, really fucking illegal. But I've read through it, but I need to read through it more and get more information on it. I read through the whole bill, and it seems more like it was trying to say that health insurance companies can't provide those treatments to children. They cannot pay for the treatments for children. I'm assuming that's kind of trying to cover like out of state as well. That'd be my guess. So that way you can't, as a parent, use your health insurance in another state to get your child some type of gender procedure and then come back to Florida. So like it would prevent that from happening. It's kind of just worded really, really oddly. I can't figure it out entirely. It does seem like it has a full ban on using public funds for these type of treatments. Again, it's something I would have to take a look into. I'm not ready to say whether I agree or disagree with it. If it is a blanket ban on health insurance companies being able to provide health insurance for those particular procedures, then I'm 100% with you and against that. That's fucking dumb. But I have a feeling that that's not quite what the legislation is trying to say. It just seems like it was worded really, really fucking poorly.
This is not isolated to Florida. 31 of the states in our union are controlled by Republicans. And behind the scenes, they're attempting to get to the required amount to have a constitutional convention so they can do whatever they want, because then the Constitution won't be in their way anymore. You need to get involved. You need to start looking into who you're going to vote for in the next election, and you need to start being more judicious about who it is you're voting for, because Republicans are now running on Democratic tickets, saying all the right things, and then immediately switching their vote. Do you really want the end of America to come from a guy who eats pudding with his fingers? Come on, America. We could do better than this.
And once again, for the final time, I have no idea what the fuck you are talking about. What is this? What constitutional convention? What, do you think that Republicans can just get a specific amount of support and then they'll just be able to like rewrite or ignore the Constitution? Because that's just not how any of that works. That's not even something that's not something that's possible. There is no force higher than the Constitution in this country that is the be all end all. I don't even understand. And of course, it's so telling of these people when they immediately say that X amount of states are controlled by Republicans, and that is bad. So, like, Republican control is just inherently bad, despite the fact that I know of many Republicans, whether they be Congress or more state officials, that are way more supportive of trans rights than some of the Democrats that we're seeing. So it's just not, it's so telling, because that means you only care about your side. I've been preaching this for fucking feels like forever now. That's my issue with modern politics right now, is that all anybody cares about is their fucking side. They don't want to look at the issues and actually have a discussion about them. They don't want to actually learn about what legislation is being pushed forward. They just regurgitate shit that they either see on Fox News or CNN, and that's it. That's the entire fucking education process that they go through in order to teach themselves about what's currently happening in the political climate. That's it. And all you care about is your side. That's all anybody seems to fucking worry about anymore, is whether or not your team is fucking winning. Holy shit. Like, it's so embarrassingly obvious that if there was a Republican candidate that came forward and basically embodied a solid majority of what you believed and your ideology, but a Democratic candidate came forward and was completely the opposite, didn't have a lot of your views at all, you would still vote Democrat. You would still go with the fucking blue. Why? Because you are so hard set on Republicans being this evil boogeyman fucking force. And the Republicans are the exact fucking same for Democrats. Republicans are still fucking touting this nonsense of, all the fucking states are going to take away all of our fucking guns. Meanwhile, several states in recent time have gone fucking constitutional carry and gotten rid of things like permits to conceal or open carry. They've actually loosened gun laws. They've actually increased your rights in terms of the Second Amendment. But somehow, because Fox News says, hey, the fucking Sleepy Joe is coming for our guns, everyone's ready to wage war on it, and you're no different with this right here. You are taking what CNN and other fucking Democrat sources are saying about this legislation and running with it, because you clearly didn't read any of the actual bills that have been pushed through, because none of them actually say what you fucking think that they say. And this is why I fucking hate modern politics, and I fucking can't stand people like you, because all you do is regurgitate their fucking fear-mongering. Meanwhile, we can't actually have a genuine discussion between the two sides anymore, because that's all anybody cares about, is who can scream fucking louder. Anyway, to everybody else, I hope you enjoyed. And again, I am going to go ahead and throw out my Discord link into the description below. Anyone and everyone is welcome to join. Whether you just want to be updated when I post a new video, or when I go live on Twitch or something like that, or if you want to just join in and have discussions or argue with people within the Discord, or argue with me, fuck, I don't care. That's perfectly acceptable. Anyone and everyone is welcome. So that will be in the description, as well as I just recently made myself a little Twitter account. So again, that's going to be in the description as well. Go ahead and give it a follow if you could, so kindly. Please and thank you. And I will see you all in the next one.